Hi, welcome to Always Disney. My name's Robert, and I've noticed there's been a lot of discussion online about changes that have to be made to Splash Mountain. I didn't want to really go over that. I thought maybe we could look a little deeper behind the ride itself. In 1987, Walt Disney Imagineer Bruce Gordon gave a wonderful presentation about the creation of the ride itself, and it will be my pleasure to show that to you today. One of the interesting things that isn't on the video is there was a Q&A session afterwards, and someone had asked about the naming of the ride. It appears that originally the Imagineers were wanting to name it something along the lines of the Zippity Doodah or something like that. But Michael Eisner said, no, we have a mountain theme going, let's stick with that. Well, Michael Eisner was also remembering a movie that they had just recently introduced called Splash, and he wanted the ride to be mermaid themed. The Imagineers were able to fight that, leave it animal themed, but they kept the name. I hope you enjoy this presentation, and if you're ever looking for more detailed information about the Song of the South movie itself, I highly recommend for you to read Who's Afraid of the Song of the South by Jim Korkis, which is available on Amazon.
Walt Disney Imagineering in 1979 as a production engineer. He produced show set pieces for many of the Epcot Center attractions and was also a member of the installation team for Journey into Imagination at Epcot Center. He assumed the same responsibility for the new Fantasyland at Disneyland, which opened in 1983. He's been a key member of the Splash Mountain design team since the attraction's inception in 1983. He will direct the project through its developmental and production phases to opening day at Disneyland. Bruce, it's all yours.
I hope. Some of the less fortunate of you guys saw this same exact show a few weeks ago at the local Fantasy Fan Club in the LA chapter. So we're going to find out one of the big secrets. My jokes are exactly the same every single time. So, oh, this is good. I'll go home now. So anyway, what I do ask is those of you who were there, please don't shout out the punchline before I get around to it. It just puts me off so much. Walt Disney Imagineering used to be WED, and now we're Walt Disney Imagineering. That's enough of that. Splash Mountain is what we're here to talk about. I'm sure you all saw the model over there. Splash is the next major attraction for Disneyland. It opens November 23rd, 1988, which is next year. As I spend a great deal of my time reminding the people who are working on it that 88 is next year. So as a matter of fact, we stopped saying 1988. We started saying it opens next year, and people's eyebrows go up. Splash Mountain goes in bear country at Disneyland, the long neglected side of the park. Most of the activity of late has been in Tomorrowland, and we're going to drag everybody now over to the other side of the park. There was some concern that the whole park would start to shift and sink. All the queue lines from EO and Star Tours and all that good stuff over there. So we moved us over to bear country. We put this big magenta blob on the map to try and sell the project to management so they think the attraction was a lot bigger than it is. It really is just that little section down at the bottom. But even at that, it is still the biggest attraction at Disneyland. In terms of square footage, in terms of length, it's one of the biggest things we've ever done. We had this excitement last time. We promised it wouldn't happen this time. This is a picture. Oh, slide lady. Oh, slide lady. Oh, Nancy here. Nancy here will explain to you that the problem is my slides and not her projector. But she has the official eyeglasses to push the slides. And it's exciting because they reveal. It's a dramatic trick we developed over the weekend. Yes, it's the last one. Good Lord. This is Splash. This is what it looks like walking into bear country. Where you're standing in this view, where you're standing in this view is impossible, actually, but where you would be, where we're telling you would be, is in front of the Haunted Mansion. Walking along the walkway in front of the mansion, the Rivers of America is off to your right, the Mark Twain sailing by, and Splash is to your left. The actual location is where Rufus the bear used to be snoring. As you walked into bear country, there'd be the cave up there with the mailbox, and that was the snoring bear, and that is exactly where Splash Mountain sits. So that's what it'd be. Splash Mountain is a log flume ride, okay, just like the one in Knott's Berry Farm. And we sit inside a hollowed out log, and travel around the track and up the lifts and down the big hills. Log flumes are one of the most popular of all amusement park attractions. They turn into sort of a family thrill ride. They've got enough of a thrill for the kids, but they're not so terrifying that the adults won't go on. So they're a real good theme park ride. And they're one of the key things that we don't have, and it is the most often requested survey when they stop you guys at the exit with those real tasteless surveys they do, and ask what would you like to see at Disneyland. The number one response is a log ride or a water thrill ride. So we've been after getting one of these in for a long, long time. We decided if we were going to do one, it had to be the biggest one in the world, and it had to be the best one in the world. So we set out to lay out a ride that would be the longest ride, have the most drops of any ride, and for its big finale at the end, have the tallest drop that had ever been built. So with that in mind, we set out and laid out Splash Mountain. And we did all of that stuff. It's got 5 drops, and it is the longest one that's ever been built, and that drop at the end, as far as we know, is the tallest one ever built, but we'll get to that in a bit. This is the entrance. You're sort of hovering over Country Bear Jamboree right now, looking down at the thing. Walking in through there, and then you loop around through the entry building, which you see on the model, and then down into the inside of the mountain, and you board your boats down inside the caves. This is Fowler's Harbor, or this was Fowler's Harbor. If you've ridden the Mark Twain lately or walked over there, notice it's gone. Fowler's Harbor also becomes part of this project. It'll come back as a restaurant. So that area, which you could never go down before with the Columbia Parks, now becomes a guest accessible area. And there's a walkway through there in front of Fowler's Harbor. It'll take you out onto that little peninsula and then walk you along the shore of the river, which will be real nice. And then this will be a takeout, popcorn, shrimp, and that kind of stuff. Nautical type takeout foods, where Fowler's Harbor was. And as a matter of fact, we're getting the same guy who designed the original Fowler's Harbor to design the exterior of the restaurant. So there'll be continuity through the years. This is John Stone. Some of you who got up too early saw John setting up the model this morning. He's project designer on this thing. He is generally chained to the model up in Glendale, working frantically to try and get this thing done. There's just so much to get taken care of. But John is responsible for the aesthetic elements of the project. And project director is Tony Baxter, the tall guy in the back. Tony was responsible for Big Thunder and Journey into Imagination at Epcot Center, and the new Fantasyland project, and Star Tours, and the Pirate Bridge that they just put in front of the Pirates of the Caribbean. Magnificent Bridge was also Tony's idea. And Tony is currently the chief designer for Euro Disneyland. He's in charge of all design for the Paris Disneyland. This ride was Tony's idea. He was sitting in a traffic jam on the Santa Ana Freeway, driving up, and walked in that morning and said several things. One of the things that came out was this. Let's do this. Enough said. What makes Disneyland special is that we take and put a mythology around our rides. The sunrise. We put a mythology around our attractions. Okay, Pirates obviously has pirates, and Haunted Mansion has ghosts. Deep Space Mountain becomes more than just a roller coaster because it's even got a mythology of outer space. Mythology becomes very important when you talk about Star Tours. I mean, we brought in pretty controversial and very important mythology, introducing all the George Lucas characters into the... They want you to turn the lights out, Al. Anyway, mythologies are what make Disneyland attractions special. When you go to Magic Mountain, it's just an iron ride. You ride a roller coaster, and it's a fun roller coaster, but it's still just a roller coaster. Disneyland tries to take it one step further and make it a real ride from the real world and a real mythology. So for our log flume ride, once we had the biggest and the best log ride, we decided to take and lay a mythology on top of that, and we went back to one of the best that Disney has ever appropriated, and that was the Joel Chandler Harris, Uncle Remus characters, Brer Rabbit and Brer Fox and Brer Bear, from 1946 animated classic Song of the South. The animation for this stuff, the characters, the backgrounds, the environments, and the music is some of the best stuff that we've ever done. I've watched the film countless times in the process of this project. It was already one of my favorites. And the more times I see it, the more I become enamored with the film. Once you can get past its dated look, which is what slows most people down, it's astounding. Watch it sometime and think, this is where E.T. came from. I'll talk to you later about that. Little kid doesn't have a father, meets this strange creature he's never seen before, who becomes his friend. E.T. is Uncle Remus. It's exactly the same story. We'll talk about this later sometime. It's the same story. The animated characters are fabulous, the environments, the music, like I said, the whole thing. Very bright for plucking. We've never used this in an attraction before. We've never used the music. This is where Zippity Doo-Dah came from. And just a whole bunch of other real happy, classic, upbeat Disney music. So we decided, let's take all of the characters from the Song of the South and make the flume ride The Adventures of Brer Rabbit. Okay, and that would be our mythology surrounding this whole thing. So we're going to go real quick through the storyline of what you're going to see as you go around on Splash Mountain. You get in your boats, you sit like that with big smiles on your face. You set off down the trough. You started inside the mountain. You come around and up the first lift, which drops you into a lagoon at the very front. And you can see, these are all the first pictures of the model. As you circle around the outside of the lagoon, pointing at the water for some kind of reason, you go up another hill and around some more curves. We give you a couple of minutes at the beginning of the ride before we start the show. So you can rock the boat and splash your friends and look for your camera and all that stuff. There's also time to get over the pushing and shoving from those obnoxious ride operators at the load dock. But seriously, it gives you a chance to get into the spirit of the show. We stole the idea from Pirates of the Caribbean, which has the Blue Bayou sequence, which gives you just about a minute to relax in that boat and just get out of the real world and put all that away from you before they drop you down the first hill and start the actual show. So that's what we're doing for the first couple of minutes of Splash. Then you go down the first big drop and splash into a whole bunch of singing happy geese who start the song How Do You Do from the film, which is a real happy upbeat thing that I refuse to sing. I've been doing this presentation now for 4 years, and I've never had to sing the song back, and I don't ever plan to. We travel along past all the different people. Mr. Bluebird, who actually did used to be blue, but he faded out before the photograph with artwork. And past all these other guys, they're all singing How Do You Do, just fine, thanks, how about you, and all that good stuff. And then it gets very dark suddenly. This is where we saved some money. It was a very dark room. And as you come up the hill, your ride vehicle will begin moving in 1 minute. Please remember. Anyway, we go past all the happy characters, Brer Frog sleeping on the back of the alligator. You're going to see a picture of him in real life, the alligator later on. He's pretty amazing. You come around. See, they promised this wasn't going to happen. You can see, I did this show in LA like a month ago. And see, like, they said, oh no, don't worry. Now we meet. We meet the bad guys in our show. Dumb old Brer Bear, right there, with the eyeglasses on. And he's bouncing up and down over the track, lifting his hat and tipping his hat, and just sort of doing the hoop as you go by. And we see Brer Fox, and he's on the shore screaming, get down from there. You're making a fool of yourself and all that stuff. We got to catch us that rabbit. And that rabbit, of course, is Brer Rabbit. Not bad. Brer Rabbit's standing in front of his Briar Patch hutch, and he's nailed the door up, and he says, I'm fed up with this lazy old Briar Patch. I'm looking for some fun and excitement. I'm heading for the laughing place. So he sets off to the laughing place, and we follow him. He goes by. We can see all the other characters go by. We even have a sign that says, to the laughing place, in case we're paying attention. And around the corner you go, and around the corner you go, heading on, here's the laughing place. As we go by, you see Brer Bear. Well, you see his rear end sticking out of the bushes, okay? And what he's saying, we just finished building that figure. It's running over at Maple right now in a test mode. They just got the tail flip going, And it's certainly the most tasteful thing. It's about this high, that high. And it just kind of it's running around with itself, but it's fabulous. It's really it's hysterical. And we're all going to be fired in this office. You come around the corner, what you hear is your Brer Bear saying, "I don't see no lavender. Ain't nothing in here but bees." Okay, as you come around the corner, you start to hear the sound of the buzzing bees, and it gets louder and louder as the bees start buzzing. And you plunge down the first hill. Now see, this one will work. You should plunge down into darkness, okay? Anyway, you plunge down this hill in the dark. All you hear is the sound of bees. Ahead of you, you start to see the swarms of bees buzzing around. When you get to the bottom of this hill, this is a real strange one. You go back up the other side. It's a U-shaped thing that actually goes down, which you're used to doing in a boat, because you do it on Pirates all the time and all the other rides. But then actually you go back up the other side. The momentum of going down carries you up the other side. And it's totally disorienting. We built this piece of track and tested it out a couple of years ago. And it's an amazing sensation to ride this thing and hit the bottom. And then suddenly the boat lurches and it's going back up the hill in the dark. Very fun. So that brings you now, once you make it through the bees, you wind up in the laughing place. And there's old Brer Bear. He's fallen down the hill with you. Now he's got the beehive stuck in his head, and he's thrashing and kicking like that, waving his arms. He's amazing too. And Brer Bear, of course, laughing in hysterics because he's found his laughing place. The bear is something new in animated figures that we've tried. I'm already back after. He's mounted on truck shock absorbers. Okay, there's 3 truck shock absorbers right there. And everything else on it is giant springs. So what we do is just fire the shock absorbers at random, and the thing just throws itself around. It's phenomenal. The arms flail and the feet kick and the head snaps. It's really something to watch. We don't know how long it's going to last before it destroys itself. It's been running at one of our buildings for the past few months, trying to get it going. But it's pretty amazing. One of the things that, in all seriousness, since you guys are all pros too, that really concerns us is we started getting into animation. You can see it all over New Fantasyland, which is the nadir of our animation art, of figures that do that. And we're real tired of that. We're more tired of that than you are. You go see World of Motion and we've got the guy up on the tree. He does that. I mean, come on. You're expected to pay for that? Anyway, so we tried to come up with a bunch of new ways to just go nuts with these things. So this guy, I mean, we overcompensated like crazy. And they fly all over the place. So anyway, he should be fun. You wind up in the laughing place. It's a real strange, it's blacklight. It's perfect. It's this real dark blacklight area. Everything's real silly, lots of funny gags going on. Funny gags, I can't think of any of them right now. It doesn't really matter because none of the stuff in the slide is in the show. So, but anyway, you go through all these other happy laughing critters. We can just skip the next one. No, too late now. I forget it.
Yeah, no, I gotta go.
The laughing place. Lots of funny laughing jokes. Looks good. Everybody's having fun at the laughing place, except our hero, Brer Rabbit. He's gotten himself trapped in the honey. Old Brer Fox has dumped the honey on top of him, and we've captured him. This, of course, used to be the tar baby, but we don't have to get into why the tar baby's not in the show. So we did actually find an Uncle Remus story where the rabbit did get trapped in a big vat of honey, so it's somewhat legit. That is part of the problem. But anyway, Fox is caught, the fox is screaming, "I got you, yes sir, I got you, I finally got you," and the rabbit's screaming, "Turn me loose, turn me loose." One of the other things we're trying to do in the show is if you've got two Pirates of the Caribbean, you'll hear there's one pirate up there that screams, "We want the redhead." He screams, "We want the redhead" every 5 seconds for the past 20 years. And I've always thought, God, okay line, but it's not that good. Maybe they could have written 3 or 4 lines that were just as good as that, and had him say 3 or 4 different things, so you didn't always hear him say exactly the same thing. So what we're going to try and do is record several minutes of dialogue for each of these characters. So when you go on the ride more than one time, you don't always hear exactly the same thing. each of the characters will say something different each time you go by. Right. So anyway, but I think that's an important step. I think that's going to be neat to not see exactly the same thing. There'll be a different gag each time you go by. So anyway, the fox is dragging the rabbit away, and now we rumble down another little hill, and we find ourselves in the underground rabbit burrows. And there's Mama Rabbit and all the baby rabbits and Mama Possum, and they're singing a real sad lament about how Brer Rabbit's been captured, but they know he's coming home and all this good stuff. Boy, you get fast. I like it. We come on the bottom and we get the evil, swampy lair of Brer Fox. And this is a real evil, nasty area. This is the foot of Chickapin Hill, the tree stump is sticking out of the mountain. And this is usually where I stop, because by this time, everybody's figured out that they've seen these figures someplace else. I mean, they're going like that. And even the people standing out at the construction fence, you can stand there, we've got the picture, and looking at the showboat and they go, those are the figures from America Sings. And yes, indeed, these are the figures from America Sings. We're finally going to shut that thing down. Please, hold your applause. What's it doing in Tomorrowland? I mean, let's get serious. Come on, country hoedown is future. It doesn't work. Okay, it's in Tomorrowland because it fit around building. That's his criteria. So anyway, what we're doing is taking all of the problem with the show is A, it stinks. B, it's been there too long. Okay, it's been there now for what, 13 years? Carousel of Progress was there for 6. American Sing's been there for 13. No, something wrong. So, but the thing that is good about it is it's the best animated figures this company ever did. They're fabulous, and that animation in there is incredible. The alligator that walks up the stairs in American Sing is a lot better than Franklin that walks up the stairs in American Adventure. Good stuff, excellent figures, some best stuff we've ever done. So we wanted to save those figures. We wanted to get rid of the show. So that's what Tony's idea was. Let's yank those figures out, drag them across the park at midnight and nobody's looking at them. We had a bet going as to how long it would take before anybody noticed that the figures were gone from American Sing. If you ever want to talk to, we have a thing for the people who do the guest surveys. If they want to find people who've never been to Disneyland before, they go to American Sings and stand at the exit. Because anybody coming out of American Sings has never been there before. I actually do like the show. When I got my very first video camera, I took it down there, and that was the first thing I videotaped was American Sings. And I left the tape on the roof of a friend's car, which you should never do because it just flies right out. That was in the days when we got stopped by security 3 steps into the park and had to go to City Hall and fill out a thing okaying our camera. And we taped American Sings and then walked over to Pirates. And before we got to Pirates, we were stopped again by security. Who said, "What are you doing with that camera? I saw you in American Sings." So that was a real strange experience. One of my few run-ins with Disneyland security. That and when we stood underneath the firework launching thing to watch the fireworks go up and change it like that. I didn't think that was a smart idea at all. And the fire guy that was hauling us away was parked in his truck yelling at us just as one of the things came down and hit the street, the driveway about 20 feet behind him. He didn't see that. But it just came down and exploded right behind him. It was perfect. We didn't kill him. So anyway, these are the figures from American Sings. We're going to rip them out. We're going to take them over to Splash and put them in the kind of show where they belong. They become the backing cast, the B cast, behind all the new figures from Song of the South, all the rabbits and foxes and bears, which are brand new figures, especially made for the show. What we wind up with is a show that has 103 animated figures in it, which is terrific. I mean, that's more figures than the Pirates have. It's going to be just a lavish, wonderful, spectacular thing. Anyway, the boat goes inside the tree and starts climbing up inside the tree. We still haven't figured out how that works. But the boat goes up inside the tree. We see the rabbit tied up on his roasting spit. He's all shivering and shaking. We see the slobbering silhouette of Brer Fox and Brer Bear, who didn't get drawn in this one. The fox says, "I reckon I'll skin you," and the rabbit says, "Skin me, roast me alive, do whatever you want." And the bear says, "I'm going to knock your head clean off," and all that. The rabbit says, "Do whatever you want, but don't fling me in the briar patch." And just as your boat gets up to the very top of the hill, we hear the fox scream, "The briar patch, that's a great idea. I'm glad I thought of that." And he yells, "Here you go," just as your boat tips over and plunges down the world's tallest lava can drop. Now there's a whole lot of stuff going on here. This is 5.5 stories from top to bottom, which is nice. Go up to the 5th floor of the hotel and look out the window and jump from that. For comparison purposes, the one at Knott's Berry Farm is 30 feet, so we're almost twice as high as the one at Knott's Berry Farm. Good. And we also got, in talking to the ride designers, they said that it's not the height of the hill that makes it exciting, it's how steep the hill is, what the angle is. Okay? The one at Knott's is 35 degrees, so we pushed this one to 45. That adds another bonus as well as being very right when you go down. You can't see the bottom of the hill. Okay? When you go down the one at Knott's, if you're sitting in the front of the boat, you can see where you're going. You can see the bottom of the hill in front of you. But when you tip that to 45 degrees, you can't see the bottom of the hill. What you will see are all those brown squiggles, which are the briars, which are these thorny, spiky things sticking out at your face as you're plunging down this thing. And you'll see that water in the lagoon at the bottom of the hill. What you won't see is the fact that there's a hole in the middle of all those briars that you go right through the center of. So you'll be coming down this hill, ducking your head to keep from getting decapitated, and bracing your feet to the bottom of the hill, which isn't there. And you keep right on going another 15 feet into an underground cavern that runs all the way out to the rivers of America, which you can take a look at on the wall when we're done. Pretty amazing. There's some other fun stuff going on. Here's the happy people coming out the top of the thing, plunging full up. Hitting the bottom, we have several things going on. If you watched Big Thunder, as the train goes through at the end, as it goes past the dinosaur bone and flashes through the water, the train never actually touches the water. Okay, the train breaks a series of electric eyes, which cause spurts of water to come out to give the illusion the train's going through. The Matterhorn really does hit the water and rusts and gets the sensors wet. And it's just a nightmare to maintain that thing down there. So that's why they went with Big Thunder to the splash pad to go by. So we're going to rip off that idea and put the sensors here and a whole bunch of splash jets around the perimeter of the hole you go through. So that as the boat comes by, it'll trip that sensor and create a giant splash of water, just as if the boat had actually hit the water in the bottom of that lagoon. So if you're standing out on the walkway, watching this scene, you'll see this boatloads of screaming people come down the hill, and as they hit where the bottom would have been, there's a big splash of water. Then we throw a bunch of bubble machines out in the water along the edge. They go as the boat would be going by. Really fun. At one point, we had a thing that released Mickey Mouse balloons at the bottom of the water. So anyway, let's see. It should be a fun deal for the people on the ride and the people watching in the front to watch the boats disappear. And from where you are on the walkway, you cannot see where the boat goes because it doesn't surface again until way out in the river. So you look through all that stuff, and we want you to think that that's the end of the ride. You guys are getting too smart. We cut this from the show. I leave the slide in here, though, because this is interesting. Now, the people that saw this before don't answer the question. Maybe we got a big group, and you guys are pros, so you can tell me in 5 seconds what's the fastest ride at Disneyland. Perfect. That's one of the only people who's ever gotten that one. Okay, let me kill you. Now, monorail is the fastest ride at Disneyland. Space Mountain is the second fastest. Other than the monorail, this will be the fastest point you're ever going at Disneyland. It is close to 40 miles an hour in this little tiny boat. In the dark, under the walkway. Racing right through there. What's good about this, though, is that it's not torturous like a roller coaster. You're not being slammed around in jerks and having your neck broken. It's just a perfect straight line as smooth as glass. So it's just a really exhilarating sensation. It's not like a roller coaster. It's wonderful stuff, and you all have to go on it. So anyway, once we figure that out, that we have a tunnel that's 100 and some feet long, and you'll be in that tunnel less than 2 seconds. We began to realize that putting all this happy stuff in there was just a waste of money. So it's too dark as you go through that tunnel, which is actually better. But we want you to think that's the end of the ride. The bottom of the hill, you've gone out this spectacular thing. You guys have been on enough rides to start to figure out, yeah, this is the end of the ride. And you know as you're coming around the corner, you're coming back into the unload area. So we want to fool you again, and as you come back in, you come around the corner, and what lays ahead of you is the biggest scene in the entire ride. The actual finale of the attraction, which is our terrific showboat scene. These are all the critters now celebrating the fact that Brer Rabbit has escaped from the box by being flung into the fire pit. And this is where the song Zippity Doo Dah finally comes in. And that whole showboat is loaded with 21, I guess, animated figures, all singing and dancing up there. And the whole showboat, which is 50 feet wide, rocks back and forth. It's as big as the pirate ship in Pirates of the Caribbean. And the whole thing is going like this. It's amazing. And even more amazing, the guy who's building that showboat is Bob Gurr, who was the original engineer on the monorails and the Autopia cars way back when. One of the very, very original Disneyland guys. He no longer works for Disney. They drive you crazy after a certain number of years. But he is doing the actual design on it. So that's going to be neat to get something back in with Bob Gurr. Design. So it's spectacular, fabulous scenes that you could us playing all the characters and singing happy songs that Bear Rabbit escaped. You see sunset, it's autumn, it's the finale, it's the end of the show. Every clue we can give you. You see Brer Rabbit or Brer Fox being chased by the alligator. We did add Brer Bear to kind of keep the name here, but he's there also. We also see Brer Rabbit. We see Brer Rabbit back in front of his briar hutch, and he says, "Home sweet home, I'm never leaving my briar patch again." And happy, happy, happy. So that's basically that. There's a couple more slides in here. Yeah, more pictures of them all. I put these things so I don't have them all. There's the actual alligator. He's fabulous. He's just magnificent. When you see him in real life, that Brer Rabbit is sleeping on top of, hanging from the tree, being sculpted by a guy named Joe Cubba. If you get some of the old Pirates of the Caribbean books, he's in there as a kid, and Peter Kermode, who is sculpting the bear with the beehive on his head, is also in there as a very young, clean-shaven man. It's hysterical. We should keep pulling it out now. Just a charming guy. But anyway, they're great. Fabulous figures. Wonderful stuff. And also Procopio sculpting the snickering Brer Rabbit. And this Brer Fox with no teeth. And lots of good stuff. And a very feminine Brer Rabbit. We're going to take care of that. Very embarrassing. I was taking the flat out. And Bear Country, desecrated. This is actually taking down the Bear Country sign, which was a very emotional moment for all of us. And I always put this slide in because this is the other reason that we built Splash Mountain. One reason was to get rid of our hidden agendas for building Splash Mountain. To get rid of America Sings and to get rid of the restroom building in Bear Country. The one dominant structure in the entire land, the number one focal point of Bear Country is a toilet. Guests walk in and they go, "Wow, this is great, what is it?" And they walk in, and that's that is. The dead center of it, the dominant theming of it, is a bunch of silver pay telephones, 8 feet wide, whole bank of chrome telephones. No, not right. And my favorite thing is that then they decided, outside a bathroom in front of the payphone, let's put a stage here, okay? So all the entertainment in Bear Country performs right in front of the payphones at the exit to the men's room. And what we always got, my favorite, is these guys walking out of the men's room, realizing they're on stage. Back to that. It was we said, no, and set up a grandstand and brought in a bulldozer and just took that whole building out. That was the first thing to go in case they canceled the project, at least for us. So currently today, the world's biggest hole in the ground is sitting where that attraction was. If you remember, some of the old timers remember when Pirates of the Caribbean was built long ago. The first thing they did around, 64, 63, they dug a great big hole in the ground, threw some steel in it, and left. They went off to the New York World's Fair, built all those shows. That hole in the ground sat there for 3 or 4 years, and they came back and built it, and opened it, and it's the best ride we've ever done. So in a meeting with all the Disneyland vice presidents, I explained that, and proposed, now that we've got the hole in Bear Country, what we should do is just walk away, and let the hole sit there for 3 or 4 years, and when we come back, this will be the best attraction we've ever done. And I think they thought I was serious. It was amazing. We're not really going to leave the hole in the ground for 4 years. We open next year. But anyway, master building is gone. We have an actual construction entrance that we can't drive through. It's only for union contractors, so I've never driven through the construction entrance. This is the first sign we put up. This was put up before Eisner announced the attraction. Smart thing to do. First, the next thing we did was tear down all the trees. We did not decapitate all the trees. Any tree that was a particularly good specimen, a rare tree, hard to find tree, or anything unique, we did save it. We did the amazing Disneyland thing of putting a metal pin through the trunk of the tree, pulling it out of the ground with a crane, and then moving it and replanting it somewhere else. So we saved something like 35 specimen trees out of there, and the rest of them we chainsawed. We moved the two biggest trees that have ever been moved to Disneyland. If you go to Bear Country right now and walk through the area between the construction fence and the stream, you'll see two trees growing out of cement circles in the ground. Those didn't used to be there. They were over by the restaurant building. We moved those over. Those are the two biggest trees that have ever been moved. Take a look at those things. They're gigantic. It's amazing. Also, the world's greatest trivia question, did anybody notice, except the one that did it was the monorail, that the sign, well, all of Bear Country shifted over about 12 feet. The entrance sign to the Hungry Bear restaurant is 12 feet further back than it used to be. Everything in Bear Country is pushed back 12 feet. Nobody ever noticed. Even our management didn't notice because we goofed on where the building was. We kept pointing at Disneyland and kept saying, see, it goes right here where this train trestle is. That's how far the building sticks out. When we finally got all the plans drawn, it was this train trestle over here, and weren't we surprised? We wound up with a hole in Bear Country, an entrance through Bear Country was about 10 feet wide, so we had to push everything over. To do that, it takes a haunted mansion out. Disneyland Railroad, a thing of the past, literally, for the next year. It comes back, I guess, after Easter of '88. We're moving the tracks to make room for Splash Mountain, and at the same time, they are replacing most of the track around the park. They're replacing a lot of the worn out track and rebuilding the locomotives, which has never been done. They've never been down long enough to do a major rehab. So they're taking advantage of time to train it down. When the train comes back, it travels through the middle of the finale scene. You can kind of get a hint of that on the model. But the scene of the showboat rocking back and forth and all that stuff, you will see from the train the same way you see Primeval Diorama. You won't, the people in the boats can't see the train, but the people in the train can see the boats. So it's like a preview of the show, which should be fun. The new walkway construction. This is all old news because it's open now. This was exciting when nobody had seen it, but now here's historical pictures of it being built. The new entrance to Bear Country will come around the same way the temporary one does. So the way you're being walked in now behind the trading post and then turning around and facing the Disneyland Hotel will be the real entrance. If any luck, you won't see the hotel over there. No promises though. More boring pictures of that. The trading post survived. The trading post will survive. It's the last remnant of the original Indian village, way back there, which is not the original Indian village. That's another story. There it is, the world's biggest hole in the ground with train trestles and the train tunnel in the middle, cut off in the middle, and that big green building on a mansion that you're not supposed to know is there. Mommy, what's that big green building? More pictures of the Disneyland Hotel and the hole in the ground. The hole is there because actually you get on board the boats 12 feet below the walkway. You wind in down and you're actually down 12 feet below the walkway. And then underneath that is a giant reservoir, a giant swimming pool that holds all the water from the ride when it shut off. Boring stuff. Remember when Walt used to show pictures of dirt on the TV? Worked at 55, so I figured it was there. On and on and on and on and on. Watch for Train is probably the funniest thing. We did that up at the end of the traffic. Caution, watch for Train. And those two trees are moving. Boy, I'm just running out of things to think of.
Will the train be at a different position than trestle?
No, train will be in exactly the same place. The train is what drove the location of the project, because we can't move the train backwards because it's locked in by the Haunted Mansion and locked in by the Hungry Bear restaurant. So we couldn't move the train, so that decided precisely where the attraction sits. Presence of the train, very strange picture. Don't use that exit door out of the mansion either. It's broke off on the outside. That's a nasty thing. Unfortunately, we couldn't tear down the Country Bear show. So, can't win. I'm not supposed to say that. That's really right, what are the obnoxious? These are all out of sequence. This actually happened before everything else did. See, all we have is this hole right there. A lot of pictures of the hole in there. 26 feet. That's right. So anyway, here is the construction plans. You can tell we're getting towards the end of the thing. I think that's the last picture on the whole deal. And that's November 23rd, 1988. Thank you.